Okay, hear me out. What if the final twist of Stranger Things is the entire show ended up being just this elaborate hours-long Dungeons and Dragons campaign? How crazy would that be?
How was I supposed to know it was gonna take 10 hours?
You've been playing for 10 hours?
Kristen here, and we're explaining the wild twists and turns that led to that shocking ending of Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1, as well as discussing the questions that we have going into Volume 2 and beyond. So this season is separated into 4 different connecting storylines. 11 is on a journey to the past to find her power again, with the crew in California trying to save her. The Hawkins gang is working on solving a supernatural murder mystery, and Joyce and Murray are trying to save Hopper. This season of Stranger Things is a ton of fun. We get to follow the characters that we already know and love, as well as meet some brand new ones as well. They really go heavy into the horror elements, and they've said that this season we are getting answers. They're going to tell us all the things we've wanted to know, all the burning questions we've had for quite some time. And while they do answer some things in this first volume, there's even more questions at the same time. This is also the longest season of Stranger Things that they've done, with each episode being over an hour, and I think that they paced it really well. None of the episodes felt dragged out or too long. I do think that we got to tackle a lot of different things. It's been 6 months since the Battle of Starcourt Mall, and in the aftermath, everyone's separated for the first time. They're dealing with the complexities of going to high school, and I think they did a really great job of paralleling some of those complex moments with other moments from the past. So for instance, 11 being bullied in high school versus some past moments that went on in her life and kind of making them connect. Episodes 4 and 7 were the absolute standouts. I mean, we knew episode 4 was going to be wild because Sean Levy was directing it, and he's directed all of the best episodes, from the Christmas lights to the Mind Flayer, and Dear Billy was no exception, with Sadie Sink delivering an award-worthy performance. And with episode 7, I mean, we got so many answers, so many twists and turns, and that cliffhanger just threw me for a loop. I was losing it. My main criticism this season, though, is that since there's so many different stories that we're following, even though a bunch of them connect, at times we don't really get enough time with some of these characters. Like, towards the end of this season, the whole California crew disappears. Like, we don't go back to them at all. Or the character of Eddie, he's so much fun, but there's like big chunks of time where he's kind of just like off the radar. Or even Erica, you know, they start really strong with her in this season and show some parallels between her and her brother, and then she doesn't show up again until the very end, and of course, she's always the one who's piecing things together and figuring things out, like another Dustin, but, you know, with those snappy retorts, and I wanted to see more of her, you know, so there was definitely some storylines that I wish that they dove deeper into or gave us a little bit more of, because I thought they kind of forgot them at some points. But with all of these different storylines, there is a particularly strong connection between the journey that Eleven's going on and that murder mystery going on in Hawkins. Let's dive on into it, but of course there are major spoilers ahead, so you've been warned. The season starts out with specific Hawkins High School students being targeted in these gruesome murders. Each victim starts getting headaches, they start seeing things, and then they have these terrible visions of these horrific moments from their past. Then within a week, they're dead. There's popular cheerleader Chrissy Cunningham, who's plagued by these memories of her abusive mother. A writer for the Hawkins High School newspaper, Fred Benson, who is plagued with these visions from a car accident that he had that led to him killing someone. Max is targeted with guilt over her stepbrother Billy's death, but luckily the Hawkins crew finds a way to stop her from being taken, at least for now. And then the final victim we see this season is Lucas's fellow basketball teammate, Patrick. While they don't dive into his full story, they do hint that he once came to practice with a black guy, and maybe that's teasing that he had some kind of abusive situation at home as well. I do gotta say that I agree with Millie Bobby Brown. She had made a comment about how she wished the show was a little bit more like Game of Thrones, and how they just have so many characters and nobody meaningful is ever killed off.
The Duffer Brothers are two sensitive Sallys that don't want to kill anyone off. We need to be Game of Thrones. We need to have the mindset of Game of Thrones.
And just kill like a main character.
I know, kill me off.
Twist.
They tried killing David off. They brought him back.
3 of the 4 people being targeted here are side characters that were introduced just to be killed off, you know, so it kind of loses the stakes a little bit. But before Chrissy's death, she was last seen with Eddie Munson, another new character who is the leader of Hellfire, the D&D club that they have at Hawkins. People look at him as if he's a freak, as if he's dangerous, but he's honestly like a good guy. He's a little theatrical, he's a little over the top at times, and I think he's just really misunderstood for being different. But obviously being in the same place as the, you know, this popular cheerleader who was murdered, that put a target on his back. as the main suspect of these murders, which could not be further from the truth. When Chrissy is trapped in this terrifying vision, Eddie is the one that sees her being contorted and thrown up into the air, and it's honestly like traumatizing to watch. And every time he's been caught in these situations, he's just running, booking it out of there. And Max is the one who realizes that there's something a little bit weird going on around the same time that Chrissy died, and goes to Dustin to confirm her theories of like, maybe this has to do with the Upside Down. The team at Hawkins come together to help Eddie. They need to learn a little bit more about what's going on here. Who is this mysterious new creature from the Upside Down that they dub Vecna after the Dungeons and Dragons character? They learn that this is not the first time this has happened, with a connection popping up to murders that happened over 30 years ago in Hawkins. We learn about the mysterious Victor Creel, played by the legendary Freddy Krueger actor Robert Englund, a man who moved his family into a beautiful home in Hawkins in the 50s, only to then murder them Amityville Horror style. The catch, though, he claims he's innocent and his family was murdered by a demon. Nobody believed him. He was sent to Penhurst Mental Hospital and basically took the rap for this. The Hawkins crew, though, they believe his story. They want to get down to the nitty-gritty of how did he survive this attack from Vecna? Is there something that they could do to replicate that and possibly defeat him? Nancy and Robin go undercover at the hospital and manage to get time speaking with Victor and learn about all the nightmares, hallucinations, and terrifying things that went down in that house. Everything culminates when Vecna kills Virginia Creel at the dinner table. Victor tries to take his kids and escape, but he gets caught in a trance too. The thing that saves him and keeps him going is that he hears the voice of an angel. It's the radio playing his favorite song that's able to basically break the spell. At that point, his daughter was already killed, his son was very ill and later died in the hospital, or at least that's what we think. But we do have that information now that we need. It's the music. The music is key. And speaking of, my goodness, they really nailed it with the soundtrack this season. Just 80s bop after 80s bop. A cannot miss soundtrack. So this information about the music ends up being extremely helpful, especially when Max gets caught in Vecna's vision. She's near death, but her friends were able to save her through the power of her favorite song, Running Up That Hill, Deal With God by Kate Bush, which thanks to the show has now hit #1 on the music charts. So, wow, the power of Stranger Things. While Max is safe now, her being in that vision actually also gave them a lot of information because she sort of went beyond the Upside Down into what looked like Vecna's secret lair. As she went deeper into Vecna's world, you really see this connection between Vecna and Creel House. There's something there. While all of this is going on, Eleven, who was originally in California with the Byers family, is now taken to a remote location to try to get her powers back with the help of Dr. Owens, and, surprise, surprise, Dr. Brenner is back. They use this machine that they've called Nina, based off the 1786 Nicolas de Layrac opera of the same name, as a tool to help her retrain, as well as regain back some of these memories from Hawkins' lab that she's buried and suppressed. While she's reliving her past, she gets help from a friendly orderly named Peter Ballard. He tries to guide her and help her in getting her powers back, and shares that he even worked with #1, who's someone that Papa, aka Dr. Brenner, has said is a myth and does not exist. So what's the deal with #1?
Sometimes Papa doesn't tell the truth.
While he doesn't reveal what actually happened to him, he does share that #1 was able to tap into the strength of his powers through a memory that made him both sad and angry.
Do you maybe have a memory like that?
And 11 is able to use that advice during a training session when it comes to beating one of the other advanced kids in the lab, but let's just say that kid did not take too kindly to being one-upped and retaliated against her privately. Peter tries to encourage 11 to leave the lab. He's like, these other kids are going to try to kill you, and Papa is just going to let them because he's scared that he can't control you. And so to thank Peter for all of his help and so that they can escape together, 11 removes what appears to be like a tracking device in his neck. But the orderly then reveals to 11 that he has powers himself, and not only that, he was #1!
It was his hat, Mr. Krabs! He was #1!
But not only that, so he shares his story, and it turns out that he actually is Victor Creel's son, Henry. He did not die in the hospital, and in fact, he's the one who was responsible for everything that went down. Born with this psychic ability, he's the one who haunted his family before finally killing them, and then framed his father because he was like disillusioned with human life and just found it to be really mundane and meaningless. He wanted to put up a mirror to them and show them their faults and basically haunt them with the sins of their pasts. His mother sort of had an idea of what was going on, so she's the one who enlisted Dr. Brenner to come in and help, but this just made Henry even more irate and led to him killing his mother, his sister, and then letting his father take the fall for it all. His power just ends up overloading, which is why he ends up in the hospital, and from there, Dr. Brenner takes over. And at some point, the doctor realizes just how powerful and uncontrollable and kind of evil that Henry is, which leads to him putting that power dampening chip in him and then launching the program that eventually gave us 11 and these other psychic kids, because he wanted to recreate number one's power in a way that he could control. So once 11 has basically freed 1, he seeks revenge on the entire lab, killing almost everyone. 1 and 11 face off, and 11 is not finding the strength in a negative memory, and instead finds it in a positive memory about love with her mother, and is able to use that happy memory to overcome 1. And basically open a portal to the Upside Down and lock Henry in there. We see him being twisted into the monster that we know now as Vecna. So that's right, Vecna, 1, Henry, they are all the same person, which I thought that was such a wild story. Like, literally, when I got to the end of this season, I was just like, oh my god, I was losing my mind, because I just thought it was such brilliant storytelling, because you had no idea that any of this was really connected the way it was. So kudos to the writing team, because I was shook by all of that. I do think it's important to mention that the only time so far that Vecna has been defeated or bested or, had someone basically escape from him was Victor Creel, Max, and 11. And the key element I think here is that both girls embraced a happy memory. Max was listening to the song that she loves and thinking back to her friends and Lucas, and 11 is remembering, her mother's love. So it was really these happy moments, not what one said of, these sad and angry moments, that gave them immense power and gave them the strength to either escape or, defeat them. And I do think that there's a metaphor there of Vecna being this, like, soul-sucking depression, Even the people that he went after were people that had something traumatic happen to them, and he was feeding off of that. So I definitely think there's going to be some kind of, like, message of hope or love conquers all that's going to be the thing that can stop this monster. Now that we know that 1 and Henry and Vecna are one and the same, I did think that there was a lot of really interesting visuals that kind of make sense once you're aware of all of that. In this season, the visions that Vecna's victims, say that 3 times fast, see include this grandfather clock that we know is in Victor Creel's home, and that I think also kind of represent the meaningless clockwork nature of life that we already know Henry hates.
A cruel, oppressive world dictated by made-up rules. Seconds, minutes, hours, each life a faded, lesser copy of the one before. Wake up, eat, work, sleep, reproduce, and die.
And he also has this fascination with spiders that I think could reflect a couple of things. Maybe just what he looks like when he's sucking everybody's life forces out, or even maybe a dedication to the Mind Flayer. That's a villain we haven't seen in a little bit, but I mean, the Mind Flayer looks just like a giant spider. I also enjoyed that throughout the season, 11 is struggling with this back and forth of, like, monsters versus superheroes. At the beginning, she has these very faint memories of this pivotal moment at Hawkins' lab and doesn't really understand what it means. She worries that she's the one who killed all these people, that she's the monster.
I'm the monster. Everyone looks at me like I'm a monster.
Brenner has these talks with her about these gray areas of humanity. And I think in these final moments, it really solidifies that 1 is the actual monster. Brenner does live in that gray area. Sometimes he does the right thing, sometimes he doesn't. And then 11 actually is that superhero that we've always thought her to be. And you always see the superhero fight against the monster, save the day. So while 11 won that battle against 1, I think that there's a bigger war brewing that's going to have the 2 of them facing off once and for all. So now that we're caught up, I mean, this season was wild. We got a lot of information. I think we also have a lot of questions still. At least I know I definitely have a lot of questions going into Volume 2 and, of course, that final 5th season. So let's break some of this down. Some of the questions I have, maybe some theories around them as well. And, of course, I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, so leave a comment down below. First up, did 11 actually create the Upside Down when she destroyed 1? There's a lot of places we can go with this. I keep going back and forth, but there is an important clue to the Upside Down's origins that was introduced in the Stranger Things Kamchatka miniseries. There we learn about Russia's version of Dr. Brenner, Dr. Boris Orlov, who believes that telekinetic abilities have the power to open doorways to infinite worlds. So the first thing I thought right away was like, So did 11 open up a door within 1? And maybe this is like a new dimension that lives within him because of the vast psychic powers that he already has. I mean, we do see 1 sort of like falling into this world, so that could mean 11 just sort of like opened up a little window, so to speak, into the Upside Down, and he got shoved into there. But when Max was in Vecna's vision, she ended up in basically his own little lair. Could he maybe have his own little psychic world built into the Upside Down, sort of like a world within a world? We also learn each time Vecna kills, a new rift is created. Maybe that makes the world of Hawkins even more tightly bound to the Upside Down? Could that be his plan? Maybe kill enough people, create enough rifts, and he'll eventually bring both worlds close enough together that he can escape and basically control both worlds, control everything? And before 1 and 11 even face off, he said, like, I want to create a brand new world with you. Like, I want you to join me. So, like, is this it?
We could reshape the world, remake it however we see fit. Join me.
No.
There's also a moment when Vecna said that the people that he's killed are not really dead, they live on in his mind. Could that confirm that, like, this rift, this Upside Down, this world is something that was accidentally created by 11 and 1, and maybe this is kind of what he wanted all along, this brand new world that he's created? It also makes me wonder, could any of these people maybe make a comeback when it comes to that war of 1 versus 11 as maybe part of an Upside Down dead army? Another thing that kind of throws me off here, though, is that we learn this season that the Upside Down is frozen on November 6th, 1983, the day that Will went missing, the day that he disappeared into the Upside Down in the first season. It's also the same day that 11 accidentally created another gate into the Upside Down when she unwittingly psychically connects with a Demogorgon. When we thought that this was the first rift ever with Will disappearing into the Upside Down, like, that makes sense then for maybe time to stop and freeze then. But now we know that that's not the first time, and it's also not the same day that 11 quote-unquote destroyed 1. So why is it frozen on that specific day? What is the significance there? I'm really eager for them to explore more, and if you have any theories, please let me know. Something else that I would love to know is, where did 1's original psychic powers even come from, right? Because, like, maybe that could play into the idea of, like, them creating the Upside Down through him. You learn that season that he's the first person that Dr. Brenner was exposed to that had these psychic abilities. He learned how to recreate them in other people, but what was the actual origin of 1's powers? I mean, it's pretty clear he has strong connections to the Upside Down. Could he come from another dimension? This season, Dustin also shares his theories on the Upside Down. He thinks it's been around since the beginning of time. He thinks Vecna is like a general to the Mind Flayer. He thinks the Demogorgons are their soldiers, and that the Mind Flayer is the ultimate big bad, leader of the Upside Down. In the past, Dustin has pretty much always been right about his theories, and so, makes you want to believe everything he's saying. He must be right? But I do think that we found out a lot more information that he still doesn't even technically know once we learn the truth about 1/Henry/Vecna. I do have a couple thoughts here. I mean, Henry, we already know, was obsessed with spiders. The Mind Flayer is like the ultimate spider. It's huge. Maybe Vecna is drawn to the Mind Flayer because of that and, sees him as his leader. Maybe the Mind Flayer is controlling him in some type of way and he's like, whatever, I love spiders.
They are gods of our world. The most important of all predators.
I mean, we've seen the Mind Flayer possess Will. He could easily be possessing Vecna, or they could just be a team. But we are getting so much backstory, right, on Vecna. So it does make me also wonder, like, could Vecna be the leader here, and maybe the Mind Flayer is one of his minions? Speaking of rifts, there are many now, mainly because of the murders that went on in Hawkins, but, I mean, who knows if there's other ones. Will we be able to close them all? It also makes me wonder, like, if there's maybe rifts we haven't really talked about. I know the Krill House murders happened before Henry really became Vecna, but could there maybe be a rift in Krill House because of how he murdered his family? Or is the first rift really just that window that we saw 11 open up? I just feel like there could be something really important there, because even in Vecna's world, he's still at Krill House. There's clearly something drawing him there. This must be a really powerful and important place. We also mentioned, how in this season we've only really seen some side characters be killed off. So it makes me wonder if we may see, more of a bigger, meaningful death later on in Volume 2 or maybe in Season 5. We know that Max and Nancy are both being targeted by Vecna right now. There's a chance they might not make it. I'm also concerned for Steve because of his demo bat bites. And there was another moment when he was in the Upside Down and sort of like inhaled something and was coughing a bunch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this guy about to throw up slugs like Will? Is he about to be possessed? I could also maybe see him like doubling down on being everyone's favorite babysitter to the point where he like sacrifices himself for, you know, the kids or something like that. I'm also really loving the new character Eddie, played by Joseph Quinn, and I could just see him being a character who, you know, has been a coward, he's running in fear from all of this stuff, and then maybe finally taking a stand. He's got these new friends being like, I'm gonna be brave and I'm gonna lay down my life for these people. Regardless, though, he's been the focus of this witch hunt at Hawkins. Victor Creel has also had his name dragged through the mud, so I'm curious if they're going to be able to basically clear their names. There's been some breakups, makeups, love miscommunications throughout the season that I think lead to some big questions going into the finale. Will things be good between Eleven and Mike? Will Max and Lucas ever get back together? What's going on with a potential love triangle between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan? My musings here are, I think that Mike kind of realizes that he messed up with his from letters to 11.
But you don't love me anymore.
Who said that I didn't?
You never say it. From Mike. From Mike. From Mike. From Mike. From.
Okay.
And I think that's why he's on a mission to save her, so he can finally tell her the truth that he really does love her. Max struggles a lot this season with the guilt of her stepbrother Billy's death, and she kind of pushes everyone away, including Lucas, who's just trying to be there for her. And I think he also kind of got caught up in his own thing of, you know, wanting to be popular and be with the basketball guys. And I'm hoping that they've kind of had these big revelations this season that by the end they will end up back together again, because I did like them a lot. I could see things not working out with Nancy and Jonathan. Maybe she'll go for Steve, but I could just see them pulling one of those classic storylines where Nancy just focuses on herself and goes to college and becomes an award-winning journalist. This season also hinted that something is up with Will, and they've teased that he's going to, you know, reveal something big about his identity. Based off of the past seasons, it could be a couple of things. Maybe he's gonna share that he's gay or that he's asexual, or maybe he's gonna share that he's still somehow connected to the Upside Down. Or maybe both. But he's been carrying around this mysterious painting all season long that he has not revealed what it is yet. And there's just something about it that makes me think, is this going to be some supernatural drawing connected to the Upside Down that's going to reveal something really big, or even maybe give them some kind of advantage to stop Vecna, or maybe just show that Will has still been influenced by the Upside Down this entire time. That painting's just got me really curious, so I'm dying to know what's on it. Some other questions that I'm sure are going to be plaguing all of us is, how on earth are Joyce, Hopper, and Murray gonna get out of Russia, especially when the Mind Flayer is about to appear? Who's gonna reach 11 first, Lieutenant Colonel Sullivan or Mike and the California crew? And are 11's powers finally back for good, and she's strong enough for this? We've got 2 episodes and then a whole 5th season left, so I'm really curious how they're gonna wrap up this one, and what are we gonna explore in that final season? I will say, though, based off of everything that we've discussed so far, I feel like we're gonna get answers to, you know, where one's powers come from. Where did the Upside Down really come from? I could definitely see it being one of those moments where, like, 11 is strong, but she's even stronger when she has her friends and her family and, you know, just all that love and positivity behind her. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any thoughts or theories or even more questions that we need to know the answers to, make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and if you want to talk more TV and movies with me outside of the comment section, check out the exclusive Discord available on my Patreon at patreon.com/kmaldo. If you like this one, you can check out more of my videos right over here. See ya!